Hey guys, and welcome to Relationship Chronicles. Today we have a cheating revenge story from one of my subscribers that I will walk you through with, and afterwards I'll give my opinion and advice to this subscriber on how to deal with this situation. Here we go. In today's video I found my wife cheating on me with my close friend. I have him arrested and ghosted her. Upon getting back to my hometown, the following week, I began to start in motion the rest of my plan. I asked Harry to approve 1 week's worth of vacation for Catherine for 2 weeks' time. I wanted to send her in a friend or two away on a retreat before I made the biggest decision of my life for a second time. He jumped up and gave me a huge hug, congratulating me on being prepared to take the leap again. I hugged him back tight, but not the way I think he imagined it at the time. He agreed and blocked out the week for me. I asked him not to say anything to anyone, as I wanted to make it as big a surprise as I could. I knew that it would spread like wildfire around the office regardless, but that was my plan. That night, I told Catherine that I had booked her in 2 friends to go to a tropical spa resort, all expenses paid for a week. No questions asked, pick 2 friends, and come back to the biggest surprise of her life. She screamed like a kid who had just been told that all the candy in the shop was hers to have. I then told her that the following week I was going to spend it in the city, preparing for a large client who was one of my biggest accounts and needed some people in my team to help before flying out the following week. And I wouldn't be home until the Monday that she was leaving, so I wouldn't be able to see her, which seemed to disappoint her, but I told her it would be worth it when she returned. What I failed to tell her was that I had decided to take 2 weeks vacation on the other side of the country, mentally preparing myself for the shitstorm that was about to erupt the moment she stepped foot on the plane, as well as enjoying my first teacher freedom on Sunday. 2 weeks later, I flew back and began driving home. Once getting there, I'd done a quick pass by my house, and sure enough, Harry's car was there. Like the first night I had caught them. I parked a little ways back and checked the cameras asleep in my bed. No surprise, honestly, as I had recorded them constantly do this over the 2 weeks I had been away. I then made my first call to the police, blocking my caller ID. I told them that I was one of my neighbors and saw someone hanging around in their car in the alley behind my house and occasionally passing something through windows to passing cars, while also looking into my yard. And I was concerned that they were dealing drugs and are going to break into someone's property. I gave them his license plate and description. They said they would have someone there in a few minutes, so I thanked them and hung up. I then called Catherine and told her I was about 10 minutes from home and that I knew she was flying out tomorrow, but desperately wanted to surprise her. Looking back at the footage now, I laugh at the commotion that I am surprised I didn't hear. In a few short seconds, Harry was half-dressed and flying out the back door to his car. At that point, I couldn't have asked for a more perfect scene. As Harry was peeling away, one of the police cars rounded the corner behind me, saw Harry driving away fast, and gave chase. After pulling in reading and excited Catherine and doing all the couple things, she fell asleep again. I, on the other hand, couldn't sleep awake. The next day, her and her friends were bundled into a car after they drove away. I had to wait a few hours, but I began to execute my plan. I called my friend who was a removal list and apologized for the late notice but needed my place packed and moved on Friday. After agreeing on a time, I told him that he would need to take certain boxes to a storage facility, which he said wasn't an issue. Then I began packing Catherine's belongings. Later that day, I got a call from the police for me to come and identify some property that they had apprehended from a suspect the previous night that fit the description of property I had reported stolen. I grinned to myself, happy that my plan for Harry had grown to fruition, and replied that I would be there shortly to collect it. Of course, when I got there, some of the items were still unaccounted for, due to the fact that they must have still been in his house, and then they hadn't searched there yet. Before we continue, please like and subscribe if you enjoy the video. By this stage, the town was buzzing with news. Events in my hometown don't stay secret for long. Harry was disgraced and promptly fired for his possession of drugs and stolen property, and our respective bosses on behalf of the company had extended a formal apology towards me during the week. That night, I went to my parents' house and told both mine and Rachel's parents what had happened, omitting certain details, and I was moving back to the city after being promoted, but Catherine wouldn't be a part of it. They were pretty upset initially that I hadn't let them know what was going on, but were happy that I was handling everything maturely and hadn't sunk to their level. Thought they didn't agree with ghosting Catherine. But after some drinks, laughs, and tears, I went home on Friday afternoon, after a busy week of organizing cleaners for the following week, the real estate to put my house on the rental market, and various other tasks at my hometown's office. I packed some things into my car and drove to my parents' place and said goodbye before the drop-off. Before leaving, I went to Becky's house. Vicky had been one of Rachel's closest friends growing up. She was the only other person who knew what was happening, minus the details about Harry. Without her help, I wouldn't have been able to organize everything as quickly as I had gave Becky a large manila folder with my gathered evidence of her cheating, as well as the letter and a few other legal documents from my attorney stating that she was ordered not to contact me, and the details of how to access her belongings located at the storage unit I had rented out. After a quick goodbye, I left and drove back to the city. On Sunday, I woke up to several missed calls, voice messages, and text messages. Turns out Catherine had come home early after being alerted to something being afoot in town, only to find an empty house and a for rent sign out the front. Freaking out, she had gone to my parents, who closed the door on her the moment that they answered, forcing her to call everyone until she managed to somehow be contacted by Becky and told that she had a package for her. I was told that she didn't take too well to that, as I fully well knew at that point from the numerous angry texts and voice messages, from her accusing me of setting up Harry of being deceitful, etc. I was worried that she might show up at my front door, but nothing ever happened. 5 weeks later, after leaving and been promoted, I write this out for you, dear reader. Granted, it's long, and it took a few rewrites to shorten it down from my initial 14 pages, double what this story is now, but I feel that most of what I said was important enough for the story. TL Doctor. After my pregnant wife was killed in a workplace accident, I moved back to my hometown and connected with a woman who, after moving in with me, cheated on me with a close friend. I set him up to take the fall for drug possession, and after sending her away on a spa retreat, rented out my house and left town for a promotion, while exposing her as a cheater. Edit obligatory thank you and holy cow, this blew up. Thanks for guilting this account, even though it is a throwaway account that I have no intention of using in the future. I am still at work at the moment and will, after I finish, answer as many questions as I can and provide any other updates that come my way at it too. So I'm home now, and with a number of questions that are here, as well as other comments and messages I have received, I decided to take the time to answer questions and provide some clarity here, save responding to everyone. So one of the questions I keep getting asked, what happened to Harry, why it was so hard coming down on him, and why I would incriminate myself, especially on the internet, after making some inquiries back home to some friends. The short answer is, Harry is looking at a few months in prison, as it's his first offense but could be out sooner, and I felt that it was necessary to the story. No one other than myself knew what I had planned to do with Harry, which is why I omitted quite a few crucial details that have the potential to truly identify me, as well as change up some of the descriptive language about locations to potentially put this story anywhere in the world. Just for clarification, there was already more than enough evidence in his own home. I just provided the means for the police to further investigate his activity in his home. That being said, I don't regret doing what I did to him, as he knew both Rachel and I growing up, and knew how hard it was for me to pick up my life after she died. For those also asking if I am worried about Harry finding out and pointing the authorities in my direction, I know that he doesn't use Reddit. I know Catherine has an account, but I haven't seen any recent activity to state that she has been on in some time. As for other Reddit users knows, most of the people I'm friends with on my main account may recognize this story if they come across it. But as for their browsing preferences outside the subreddits that we frequent on, I can't say. As for Catherine, people have questioned why I didn't do more to her, or why I stuck around for as long as I did. Honestly, I almost did kick her out after a few days, but I wanted to gather evidence and show proof of her cheating, so that everyone she knew was know what she had done. She is a major socialite. Her words, and I knew by exposing her, would kill her reputation. As for what happened to her, I have been told that she moved to another state just recently after being transferred from the people I have spoken to today. She was put mainly on administrative duties before her transfer, as there was quite a bit of backlash after the rumor mill made its way around town. People have questioned the legality of what I did to her, moving all her stuff out, sending her and some friends away, spending a good amount on the trip, etc. Morally, I can see that it's a pretty big move to build up her expectations of what she thought was going to happen. This, combined with killing her status around town, was my ultimate goal, to have her experience what it was like to have everything fall around you. But from a legal standpoint, I had every right. In the time she had been living with me, she had never updated any of her personal information, driver's license, voting, registration, etc., to reflect that she had moved into my house. I found out this information during the course of my preparation with my lawyer after I spoke to her/legal, with no concrete proof on paper to show that she was residing there. And because we hadn't met the de facto status, I was able to do what I did with no threat of backlash. Finally, for those of you saying how my story is fake, that I am a karma whore, a sociopath in this day and age who doesn't have some sociopathic tendencies, and pointing to my malicious compliance story also has proof. I will be honest and let you know that I will not try to change your minds on this. Everyone is entitled to their opinions on stories shared all over Reddit and opinions on those who share them. The story on the other subreddit, however, was to build karma, as my original post on our /pro required to me build up enough before they would allow me to post, as they thought that I might have been a bot. That story, which I only edited in the basics of the conversation because I can't remember all of it, did in fact take place and made national news coverage shortly after. If I ever find the article, I will link it, as it was, or was at the time, close to one of the largest roaming bills our company had ever passed on to a customer. Let's move on to my thoughts and advice for the person that is dealing with this problem. It seems like this story is deeply personal and quite intricate. You've got a lot going on here. Betrayal, a complex plan for revenge, legal considerations, and a lot of aftermath. If I were to distill it into a brief opinion, I'd say, dealing with betrayal is never easy. While the revenge might seem satisfying, it's essential to focus on healing and moving forward. Karma has its way of working things out, but finding closure within oneself matters most in the end. I wish you the best of luck moving forward. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to today's stories. If you enjoyed listening, please feel free to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, comment below with your thoughts on what happened. Take care.